Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Founders Network. I'm super pleased today to be joined by the co-founder of a company who I have a lot of admiration for in terms of creative and financial services. Company is Real Vision. Thank you, Damian, for coming down to the podcast today.
Very pleased to be here. Very excited, actually.
Excited to be in Ministry of Sound?
I am. It's obviously bringing back lots of memories, so
Yes.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Real Vision, and I had the conviction and belief that you guys are changing the way the finance community industry is engaging with the world. And I believe that sincerely, and it's just obviously keen to sit you down today and find out, how this project came to be, what your philosophy is in terms of the creative direction of Real Vision, and because you're not only co-founder, obviously you're heading up the whole creative project of Real Vision, and really get an understanding of how can other brands, I suppose, utilize some of the tough lessons you've had building the business, obviously not just Real Vision, but in other projects, so they don't have to go through the agony which you've done.
We've made endless mistakes. Like any new startup, we've made a ton of mistakes. So happy to share those experiences. If it saves others any of the pain, very happy to.
Yeah. So it'd be cool to tell the audience, what is Real Vision and why do you guys exist?
Okay. So, in a nutshell, Real Vision is like The Economist, but for the digital age. So, imagine The Economist as a video channel. So, the way it works is you subscribe to our channel, just like you might subscribe to Netflix.
Yeah.
You pay a monthly fee or an annual fee, and then instead of getting access to romance and dramas and thrillers, you get access to content about cryptocurrencies, oil, the dollar, or whatever it might be. And in each of those videos, there are world-class experts. It's not some failed finance guy in Birmingham or Oklahoma. Exactly. Yeah. No, these are the biggest names you can find, and the real experts talking about whatever that asset class might be or that opportunity. We film all over the world. We've got subscribers in over 100 countries. All our content is long form, which I can come on to talk about later. There's a very specific reason for that. And we came about because finance is a very bizarre industry in that in some respects it's incredibly fast moving because obviously it has to be responsive to the markets and things like the algorithmic trading. There's a lot going on in that space.
Yeah.
But the way it works is still very old-fashioned in some respects. It still relies on very smart analysts working away and producing a report which is 300 pages long with full of charts, and then disseminating that to their clients, and on the back of that they hope they can grow their businesses. And we look at it and think, in a digital age, those written reports are still very valuable, but there are other ways of sharing that communication. And that's why we decided that video would be the medium of choice for this industry.
And I suppose it points to a large-scale shift in human communication, and particularly in financial services. I think we spoke previous to this, and I was really interested to find out, and you kind of illuminated the shift in demographics in finance, and how not only demographics but technology, demographics are driving this change.
Correct.
And how does that kind of...
Well, there are two things. So one is that the finance industry for the last 30, 40 years has ridden the baby boomer wave. So most financial organizations have really benefited from the baby boomers all through their... the lucky golden generation who have just, at every turn, they've been all right.
Gold.
They've made money without even trying, whether it's their homes or their lifelong careers or whatever, and even their retirements.
Yeah.
And the finance industry has ridden on the back of that audience. The trouble is that audience are now literally dying off, or at least moving in the direction of withdrawing money in terms of pensions rather than investing.
Yeah.
So there's a huge pressure on the finance industry to shift its attention towards Generation X's and baby boomers. Generation X and millennials. But of course, they're also terrified because they don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's still a lot of value in baby boomers. So they're kind of caught in this trap almost of... They don't want to lose the value that's in their baby boomer audience, but they recognize they need to appeal to younger audiences.
Yeah.
The trouble is whatever works for the baby boomer audience is almost immediately rejected by millennials. There's a different mindset, a different way of approaching the world.
Cynicism.
Exactly. Yeah. And the two things that come to it most is, one is the way they approach digital, which millennials are much more digital savvy, much more willing to engage, and video is the kind of the medium of choice for that generation. Even if you just look at the way millennials use YouTube as their search engine rather than Google. It's just they're very different in every way. The other thing is that, as you say, they're cynical. The millennials are the ones who are burnt by 2008. They're the ones who everyone is saying that, criticizing and saying that they're failing and they're snowflakes and all the other stuff that goes with that. And yet millennials are the most the biggest population in the workforce.
Yeah.
So the millennials are actually, obviously they're the future, but but people tend to think of them as one day in the future they'll be important. They're important now.
Yeah.
And it's why our audience, again, because we're video driven, is way, way younger than the average. So I think most financial channels, television channels, newspapers have an audience in their late 50s, early 60s. And our average audience is 38 years old.
Yeah.
So, and what's interesting is we can achieve a younger audience without alienating baby boomers.
Yeah. And one of the things I really love about Real Vision is, for me anyway, is like kind of the on-demand nature of it. And also I'm a paradox, I suppose, and perhaps be keen to see what your listeners in terms of like how they consume content is, because I either consume content in like a micro form or like hours long. There's not really like I'll just sit for 10 minutes. Yeah. It's like, I'll watch this clip of I don't know, like Raoul, for example, Raoul is one of the other co-founders of Real Vision, talking about his perspective on the coronavirus outbreak, or read an article. Yeah. But if I want to deep dive, I'll probably do that in a completely different time.
Yes.
So I'm guessing you must have so much insights into...
Yes, because obviously because we're a video on demand channel, we have all the metrics. So we can see who's watching, where they're watching, when they're watching, what device they're watching on, which bits they like, which they don't like. What I find absolutely fascinating is that there is still this belief, and it's kind of accepted as popular wisdom, that no one has an attention span anymore.
Yeah.
And that nobody wants any content longer than 3 minutes. And I just think it's absolute rubbish. So if you look at, let's just take no one has an attention span anymore. My view isn't that they don't have an attention span, it's that they are way more selective, because they have to be, because there is so much content out there. So if you look at... the Guardians of the Galaxy, the final film in that, whatever it was, 3 hours long. Yeah. You look at the length of the final season of Game of Thrones. In fact, the whole series of Game of Thrones. These are long form pieces of content told over many installments, and people are desperate and devouring them on an ongoing basis. What we find when it comes to finance is the attention span of our audience is either 30 seconds or 30 minutes. Okay. And what I mean by that is they'll tune straight in and they'll look at it and they'll think, this isn't for me. I'm not interested in investing in uranium. I'm going to switch off and look at something else. It's fine. But if they are interested, then 3 minutes, what value is 3 minutes? It serves no purpose at all. It doesn't give them enough information to do anything. So we go to 30 minutes and we say, look, if you really want to know about uranium, because you've had your first 30 seconds to decide, we're going to really tell you with world-class experts, or Bitcoin or the dollar or whatever it might be. And the most common comment we get on our platform is, I wish this was longer.
Really?
And in fact, in the last month, after a year of testing, we are now cutting all of our content that's less than 30 minutes long.
Wow.
So that's a big shift for us.
Yeah.
But it's... our hunch was, surely people must want something shorter, because everybody says we want something shorter. So we tried 10-minute content, 15-minute content, and time again, it just failed to deliver in the same way as the longer content.
And what's the, like, in terms of like why people, I suppose, consume Real Vision content, but also financial services, finance content in general?
Yeah.
What's like the for me, it's like, the analogy is, if I go to my doctor, I don't want my doctor to be chilling in like hey man, how's it going? Like, woo, come sit down, man, let's have a chat. I want them to be quite like honest with themselves and what they're doing. In terms of like, what this is, I'm a doctor, I'm not meant to be Mr. Pally Pally. So how do you balance the need for content to change, but also reinforce that this is serious stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
And not take your audience for granted and kind of...
So the way we do it is there's a difference between, for us, in content and tone of voice. And what I mean by that is the content that we show, we turn away or we reject more people on our platform than we accept. So we don't pay any presenters. They come to us, or we might seek out specialists. But they have to really know their stuff. They've got to be the best on AI or on whatever it might be. And so the content has to be world class. But the way we present it, what we don't want to do is do what everyone else does, which is have a grey-haired old white guy in a studio looking like, and the classic thing, he's behind a desk, he's wearing a tie, there's a big glass window behind him looking out over a cityscape. And he's trying to look important. But actually, he looks like a rabbit caught in the headlights. He's terrified, and he talks in a way which is kind of half selling, half pitching.
It's not real at all.
It's not real. It's not. You don't feel like you feel like you're being pitched to.
Yes.
You don't feel like you're having a conversation and really getting under the skin of it. So what we do is we very actively disrupt that. We make it very informal. It's very relaxed. All of the graphics, the music, if you're going to use video, then there are loads of tools around that medium that you can use, like silence, which on its own is very powerful. So there are things you can do that disrupt. And the way to make a good video is to embrace all of that, as opposed to what a lot of people do is they get an analyst to basically read their report to camera. That's not a video, that's a written report. On video, and they're very different things.
And realistically, do people even watch those videos now? Like the analyst talking in front of a... I don't really. I struggle to...
It's terrifying, because I think, I do feel sorry for a lot of financial companies, because they've got, we work with two very big banks, and they each have in-house studios. Each of them make over 1,000 videos a year.
Wow.
In-house. But they've done what everybody does in this space, is they think, well, we need to make videos, we need to get digital, I can see the way the world's going, so you get credit for that. Great, tick box. Then they say, well, obviously we're finance people, we don't know how to make videos, so let's get somebody who knows how to make videos. So they take a room, they put a couple of cameras in, they put a green screen at one end, and they hire a local camera guy and an editor. The trouble is the camera guy and editor don't know about finance, so they don't know how to turn what these analysts are saying into a proper video, a narrative, an engaging piece of story. The finance guys don't know how to make videos, so you end up with, as I said before, a written report on video. And they're
they don't
very
know how
dull.
to present, do they?
They're
also
no
really
one's helping them in any way. So a lot of what we do is we don't just make a video. What we do is we say, what are you trying to say? And then let's work out the best way to engage an audience. So, a simple example is a very big bank, American bank, which I won't name, came to us and said, we want to do something for millennials and new investors, and we want to tell them what's coming up next month. Just a simple show every month, what they should be looking out for in the month of March or the month of April or May or whatever it was. And I said, okay, how do you want to do it? And he says, well, I'm the chief analyst, so I want to present what my thoughts are. And I said, look, best will in the world, your target audience hate you, okay? Because most of them are going to blame you for half of the financial crash, and are going to resent you for sat there as a fat cat while they're still struggling to pay their rent. And now you're telling them what they should be doing with their money. There are just a lot of dynamics here that won't work. So I said, how do you arrive at what the thing is that they should be looking out for next month? And he said, I sit down with my top 3 analysts and we debate, and then we choose one, and that's what I would present. I said, well, why don't we film that debate? Because then that's much more like modern communication. Modern communication of any brand is much more interactive, much more iterative. The consumer is bought into the conversation as opposed to just being delivered a monologue.
And so you're not scared in terms of the future of Real Vision that most decisions, a lot of decisions, we're moving to this kind of algorithmic market where computers are just engaging with other computers and data sets just computed with data sets. You're not afraid that this kind of debate that we have as anyone who's involved in finance will be quelled by the inevitability of data, just saying this is what you should be doing. It's like, well, it's listening to the data.
Yeah, there's a really great thing in finance that will mean companies like Real Vision will always be successful, which is FOMO.
Okay.
Which is, if you're an investor, you are always trying to be ahead of everybody else. You do not want to be on the bandwagon. The bandwagon's great because then, if everyone's moving that direction, everyone's investing in Tesla right now. Okay, so we're going to make most of
Tesla. You've missed the boat.
But actually, the really good investors always want to be ahead of the curve. They want to be seeing what's coming next. They want to see what everyone else. They want to be looking the other way. So, and that means you actually working against the algorithm in some respects.
Right.
You're looking for the fresh, the interesting, the new, the stuff that will be on the algorithm next year.
So that's like you've watched a Real Vision video of someone from the crypto community talk about this crazy new currency, and you've watched it and thought, you know what? I'll just put something on and then you see it.
To that point, in our very first week, we 6 years ago, we had a video about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, and we got so many complaints from people.
Yeah,
what is this? Why are you telling us about some stupid digital thing that no one's ever heard of? I've never heard of Bitcoin. I mean, we got kicked by our audience, and then 3 years later, somebody sent us an email and they said, I saw that show and I just wanted you to know that I invested quite heavily on the back of it because I could tell that this person really knew what they were talking about. And my investment has made 3,383% return.
Yeah.
So, I guess that sums it up.
No, it does. I mean, my friend Joe, when I was at uni, he bought some Bitcoin. My friend. Yes, I won't go into details as to why he bought some Bitcoins, but he bought Bitcoin. But yeah, he was crazy person. Like, I'm not. What the hell is this? Yes. I wish I listened to Joe.
I know.
And bought Bitcoin.
Yes.
So you're saying that in terms of like with Real Vision, distilling Real Vision, or if you're distilling content, because for those of you that don't know, so what you're leading is the creative, is basically helping brands in financial services create content, but the Real Vision platform itself is very much directed at.
So on our own platform, we get these world class experts, and it's the trouble with it if you're an investor or trader or any of us normal people not working in the hallowed halls of Wall Street in the city is. How the hell do we get access to what's really going on?
Yes.
We read something in the FT after it's happened, or we watch it on CNBC or Bloomberg because it's mediated through a PR agency. We don't actually get to the guts of what people are thinking beforehand. The stuff that the hedge fund guys are thinking about before they place their multi-million bets.
Yeah.
What Real Vision does is allows you to hear firsthand what those people think.
Right.
So it gets you into a place where you have access to information that you simply could not get any other way.
Yeah.
And that's its true value. And then clients come to us, or brands come to us and say, "Look, could you capture some of that magic, that storytelling magic for us?
Yeah,
can you help us do that?
Can you make us Real Vision-ish?
Yes,
in a sense.
Can you help us tell finance stories? Can you turn our tedious analyst videos into something interesting that people want to watch?
Yeah.
How do we get from 200 views to 200,000 views?
Yeah, and it's clearly working. I mean, check out YouTube and some of the engagement you get, the retirement. I mean, the classic example is the retirement crisis video.
Exactly.
It basically went. It went viral, like literally viral, not like viral, 5,000 views. It went viral.
It's
got millions of views.
Nearly an hour long.
Yeah.
It's about the financial issues around retirement and the upcoming pension crisis. Nearly an hour long, and it's had 5,000 comments and 1.7 million views.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's deep dive. It's not a light, fluffy
that's what I mean. It's
thing.
An hour million
it's serious stuff.
Yeah, I know. That's
and to me, that says people do want this.
Yeah.
If you can tell it to them in a way that's interesting, because as you say, health and wealth.
Yeah.
Those are two things you really need to get your head around.
But the only problem is, most people in financial services aren't natural. Like, I think video creation to be a good person on video is really hard.
Yes, it is.
Do you recommend people, you just bring in presenters and stuff, or do you say to people, no, you can be it? Because realistically, I know most people, they can't. If you're an analyst, you don't have the skills really to be a presenter.
Yeah. So for me, there's a difference between say what that analyst has come up with.
Yeah.
So that's the thinking. The thinking doesn't, just because in the past the thinking was delivered by an analyst in terms of his writing.
Yeah.
And that's great. But when we come to video, you don't need the analyst
Right.
to be the presenter.
Okay. Cool,
What's important is the thinking. That's the important thing. So what's important to bring that to life is through video, through B-roll, through charts. You might have the analyst talking, but you might have, if they're talking about opportunities in, I don't know, Venezuela, you might have people talking in Venezuela.
The context is different.
Correct.
It's not like, hi, it's more like, I'm having a chat with this guy.
Yes,
He's
and you can bring it to life in so many different ways. So if your presenter or who's written something isn't a great presenter, then we just find ways around it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're better being interviewed. Maybe they're better just going for a walk and being chatting to them while they're on a walk.
Yeah, wherever they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Where do you feel the future is, new decade and stuff, in terms of like this video we're talking about today, which is my summary is that brands and financial services have to understand that the emotion is still huge, paramount in all investing decisions.
Yeah.
They have to take control of their narrative, and that video is at the moment one of the best ways of doing that.
Yeah.
But do you see anything changing in 5 years, like VR or like some other crazy are you guys preparing for that next thing, or is video the thing for you for forever?
I think people want to go multimedia. So all our videos, we have the transcripts and we have the audio version of it.
Yeah.
And we have people who wake up and start reading a transcript on their phone, and then they will go to the gym or go for a jog, and they'll listen to the audio, and then they'll carry on their commute watching the video so people like the multimedia aspect.
So you just put it away, listen to audio, go home,
watch the video, pick it up later, and then they'll put it on their Apple TV and watch it on their Apple TV. So there's definitely a multimedia aspect to it. I think what actually is going to happen is, I don't think it'll be the technology so much that will change. I think the way institutions work will change, which is I think what is going to happen is sales teams will be reduced.
Yeah.
And I think there will be more reliance on things like video or video conferencing, because you need to get in front of your clients and your potential customers. And let's say you've got a sales force of 50 people, 100 people, 10 people. It's very hard to get all of them delivering that message in the same way, to the same standard. There'll always be one guy or woman who's amazing and one who isn't. And what video can do is even out all of those discrepancies and make sure that you deliver the message in the very, very best way possible. Yeah. So I think it's going to become, at the moment it's seen as a kind of a marketing tool. I think it's going to be seen much more as a sales tool.
And the buying journey is people are getting further and further along the buying journey without even engaging with brands.
Absolutely.
And in such a point that people know a lot before they even speak to the bank.
Yes.
I've looked at this, I've looked at that, I'm aware of this, I know the competitors, and now you're sitting there like, okay, our marketing work is done, basically.
Yes.
So you're saying that this kind of big change is content itself is going to be the main vessel to which sales will be made.
It will effectively shortcut that process. Yeah. Because if you are putting good content in people's hands, then they're in their act of consuming it, they're already coming closer to you.
Yeah, of course.
And your brand, and closer. The sales process is closing up.
It's fascinating stuff.
It is. It's a really exciting time, and it's a very. I think we're at that point now where people have gone from, in the development of any new technology or any new media. What happens is the first stage is you kind of do what you did before. It's just a little bit better. So the first television shows were really kind of like radio shows. Just you could see the people talking. The first videos in finance have basically been analysts talking to camera. The next stage, which we're just getting into, is where you're actually taking what they're talking about and bringing that to life. Yeah. And it's going to lead to a really interesting phase of communication.
No, it is, and it's fascinating, and I'm really excited. Also to be inviting you back to Social Media Finance.
Thank you.
This year.
Yeah, we love what you guys are doing. It's, we think you in this content space are very much attuned to where the world's going, so we'd like to be aligned with you guys. No,
likewise, and it's in terms of next steps, if people want to check out Real Vision or check out what you're doing in terms of your own stuff, what's the best way of them doing that?
I'm very aware that video for a lot of people is they look at it and think, God, I'd love to do that, I just don't know how. I just don't know what it costs, I don't know what is involved, I don't know if we've got the right people. I would actually just ping me an email.
Fine.
I'm Damian at realvision.com. Just ping me an email and I will answer each person individually, because I know how important this is, and I know it's a big step for a lot of people.
And I can add that Damien does actually reply to emails scarily fast at times.
Yes.
It's like, bang! It's like,
Yes,
what?
I genuinely will do.
Yes.
Yes.
It might not be in like the longest, eloquent, like it'd be this. So,
yes.
Yeah, great. And obviously LinkedIn as well.
Of course,
yeah,
absolutely.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming down.
Thanks
I really appreciate it. And
I love what you're doing here. It's great.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thanks everyone. Look forward to speaking with you guys again next week.